Good afternoon. Welcome to Jim Munley's World of Weather. You clicked on to the long-range weather forecast discussion for August 8th to 22nd. There's a lot of things going on with this system. Here's Debbie now. It's over Florida or entering South Georgia, and the forecast track takes it up along the East Coast, but there's a lot of concerns as we look here. You notice how it spreads considerably as it heads further north. There's a trough here to the west of the storm, and there's different indications, like if a stronger trough is in place, that should keep Debbie more to the south of the remnants. Weaker trough will allow it to move further up the East Coast, and there's a threat of heavy rain. So Thursday and into this weekend looks to be a good bet for parts of the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. We're going to look at this at the surface. Okay, here's the GFS, and I'm going to go through a couple things here. Here we are this evening. Then we go into Tuesday, then we go early Wednesday, then we go into Thursday, and then it kind of like meanders there because I think the idea is for a stronger trough. It eventually does bring some rain into here, but depends on how much. Now we'll look at the European. That brings it in for a second landfall. It's fairly strong in the Mid-Atlantic region, and this brings up the rain as it remains inland. Now, also, there's a trough laying across the region, and this could interact with deep tropical moisture, and that could bring a threat of rain all the way up to New England. And then it's supposed to slow here or maybe meander across parts of the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. So we have to keep an eye on this as we go through the next couple of days. Now with that, I want to look at the rainfall amounts. This is in 12-hour intervals. Here we are this evening. You see some purples, bright purples. Let's see, more like this color, like 4 inches, 5 in 6-hour period. Then as it interacts with this front, Wednesday, Thursday, see, and then eventually brings up Friday and into the weekend. And it looks like here, parts of the Northeast, you can see this is like 2 inches, 1 inches, and then it moves out by Sunday. Saturday looks, according to this, is the worst day. Now we'll look at the GFS. It has a pretty strong system, brings it in, and then it has the heaviest rain further to the west across Pennsylvania, where there can be up to about 4 inches. This is in 12-hour period, and then it moves out by late Saturday and Sunday. So there's a lot to be said about what could happen. We'll take a look at the some of the models. Take a look at a couple of the models here. See how it kind of meanders here, but then eventually gets lifted off. Some of the models bring it out here to the northeast. Same thing, kind of meanders further out to the east, and then eventually towards Montauk or eastern Long Island. And we look at a couple of the other ones. This brings us closer to along the East Coast. So does this one. And this is the official track, the red one, brings right across this region. But this could still change over the next few hours or a couple days as it makes landfall. It's still down here across entering South Georgia. Okay, we're going to go to the National Hurricane Center for a briefing on the storm. We'll go here now.
Morning, everybody. This is Mike Bradley. Hurricane Center. It's just after 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Monday, August 5th, coming on with the latest on Tropical Storm Debbie, which is moving inland across portions of North Florida. And Debbie made landfall around 7 a.m. this morning as a hurricane near Steinhatchee. It's currently located about 25 miles west of Lake City. And for many people, the impacts from Debbie are only beginning. They're going to extend throughout the week across portions of the coastal southeastern U.S. We're still seeing dangerous conditions in the Big Bend region of Florida with a storm surge warning in effect. Dangerous tropical storm force winds near the core of Debbie, widespread power outages, and those conditions, especially the winds, but then also the heavy rainfall and storm surge are going to extend northward along the southeast coast of the U.S. and linger later into this week. If we take a look at the radar, you can see the center of Debbie here to between Tallahassee and Lake City. You can see the large, expansive rain shield with heavy rainfall now falling across much of southeastern Georgia into Savannah, moving now into Charleston, portions of coastal South Carolina. This rain shield is going to continue to expand northward and eastward through the next several days. If we look a little farther south, we're still seeing some of the trailing rain bands across much of the Florida peninsula. We're going to see a tornado threat develop and continue through the day today from portions of Florida up into Georgia and South Carolina. So let's first look at the overall forecast of Debbie. We have a tropical storm, strong tropical storm still, with the tropical storm conditions occurring across much of inland portions of northern Florida. We still have a tropical storm warning for the middle of Longboat Key up to Indian Pass, including the Tampa Bay region, and along the east coast from St. Augustine up to South Santee River, South Carolina. So that's where we're going to see those tropical storm conditions continue through the rest of today along the Florida Gulf Coast, and then begin to spread northward along the southeast coast from northeast Florida up into Georgia and South Carolina. Now, the thing that's going to change now is Debbie this morning has been moving at around 10 miles per hour forward speed, but you can see once we get into tomorrow through Wednesday, Thursday, even into early Friday, the forward speed of Debbie is going to slow down dramatically as the steering currents collapse. So we're going to see the center of the system just crawl along the southeast coast of the United States for 2 to 3 days. This is going to result in a prolonged extreme rainfall event with potential for catastrophic flooding across coastal portions of Georgia, South Carolina, even extending up into North Carolina. So first, let's talk about post-storm safety in the landfall area. We have widespread power outages, especially in the areas between Tallahassee and Gainesville. If you're going to be using a generator, please use your generator responsibly and the right way. We lose a lot of people after tropical storms and hurricanes to carbon monoxide poisoning from improper generator use. Make sure you vent the generator properly, use it far away from your home. You can lose your whole household full of people if that's used improperly. Let's take a look now at the storm surge forecast. We've got a storm surge warning that's still in effect for the west coast of Florida, from the middle of Longboat Key through the Tampa Bay region, through the Big Bend up to Ocklawaha River. We still have elevated water levels here, and the tide cycle is now coming back up. So we could still see the potential for 4 to 6 feet of inundation between the Scylla River and Yankeetown, 3 to 5 feet down to Chassahowitzka, 2 to 4 feet down into the Tampa Bay region through this next high tide cycle. Then we'll start to see those water levels begin to gradually recede later today and into tonight. Along the southeast coast, we have a storm surge warning in effect for the Georgia coastline, from the mouth of the St. Mary's River up through southern and central South Carolina, including Charleston, up to South Santee River, with 2 to 4 feet of inundation expected somewhere within this warning area. And those hot water levels are going to start to rise tonight and into Tuesday. And with that slow motion of Debbie, those water levels are going to stay elevated through multiple high tide cycles through the middle and even into the later portions of the week. So if you live in storm surge evacuation zones in these areas, please follow any advice you're given by your local officials. Now let's move on to the rainfall threat. We are expecting widespread rainfall totals of 10 to 20 inches from places across North Florida through coastal Georgia, coastal South Carolina, up into southeastern North Carolina. These dark shaded colors are 20 to 30 inch rainfall totals. We can see isolated amounts in excess of 30 inches in some of these locations. And this is rainfall all the way through Saturday morning. So we're going to see multiple days of heavy rainfall, record-breaking rainfall in some cases. So we want to try to put into context what 20 to 30 inches of rainfall means. So let's look day by day where that rainfall threat is going to develop. First, today through tomorrow morning, the highest risk is near the landfall area up through north central Florida, through southeast Georgia, places like Valdosta, Waycross, moving into Savannah, Beaufort, Hilton Head, Statesboro. And then on Tuesday into Wednesday, that threat's going to extend all the way from southeast Georgia, Waycross, through the Savannah area, now including Charleston, up along the I-95 corridor in South Carolina to Orangeburg, Florence, up into Georgetown and Myrtle Beach. And then as we go from Wednesday into Thursday, we're going to see that high risk continue into Myrtle Beach and then extend up into southeastern North Carolina. So this is a level 4 out of 4 risk for excessive rainfall. We could see catastrophic flooding, water rescues, flooding in places where it doesn't usually occur. So what does it mean when you're going to have 15 to 25 inches of rain? This is not the kind of rainfall we're used to seeing in many places. You're going to see homes and businesses flooded. You're going to have evacuations and rescues out of flooded buildings. Flooded roads can make travel impossible and potential evacuations difficult as well. You're going to have roads that might erode from underneath, creating hidden dangers, so you don't want to be out driving in flooded areas. And locations that normally don't flood will be flooded in these types of events. So if you live in these areas, coastal northeast Florida up through coastal Georgia, coastal South Carolina, southeastern North Carolina, make sure you have multiple ways to get alerts, warning information over the next several days. This is going to be a very, very dangerous situation developing. The tornado threat I mentioned earlier, we have a tornado watch in effect, including areas like Tampa, Orlando, up through Jacksonville, all the way up through the Georgia coast. There will be the potential for tornadoes to develop in those outer rain bands today, through this afternoon, and into this evening as Debbie continues to move slowly inland. So let's just wrap things up and hit those points again. The biggest threat from Debbie is going to be the potentially historic heavy rainfall that's going to occur across southeast Georgia and the coastal plain and coastline of South Carolina through Saturday morning, likely resulting in areas of catastrophic flooding. We're also going to have considerable flooding impacts from central and north Florida all the way up through central and northeastern North Carolina through Saturday morning. Dangerous storm surge inundation will continue along portions of the Florida Gulf Coast and the warning area through this afternoon. And we're also going to see that storm surge inundation begin along portions of the southeast coast, Georgia and South Carolina, exacerbating the flooding associated with that heavy rainfall over the next several days. Tropical storm conditions will continue in the warning area along the Florida Gulf Coast, inland across portions of northeast Florida, southeast Georgia through today and tonight, and then spread northward along the southeast coast in those warning areas as well. So again, please hunker down, be safe through the next several days for folks from Georgia up through South Carolina, North Carolina.
Okay, we're going to leave that report now, and we're going to continue on with the forecast. Just got to adjust the mic a little bit. Okay, now we're going to get to the forecast bit. This is for the period for August 8th to 12th, and we have a ridge centered over the west. Four corners this will maintain a monsoonal flow. We'll go to the surface and show you what I mean. You can see it right here. Here's our monsoonal moisture around the high, and also the ridge will cause a threat of extreme heat, and that'll be areas across this region here that'll continue as we go through the week. Okay, we're going to look now at the period for August 13th to 17th. And we still have our strong ridge here over the southern plains, southwest. And we have a trough here over the Aleutians, and we have a trough here over the northeast. Region covers much of western North America. So calling for this forecast period to be above normal temperatures here, and I'm calling for anomalies to be near 12 degrees above normal, mainly here in the orange part, and below normal temperatures here, with anomalies forecast to be near 2 to 4 degrees below normal. For precipitation, calling for above normal precipitation here, probability of occurrence 35 to 40%. And we have below normal precipitation for this region here, probability of occurrence is 35%. Now we're going to look at the period for August 18th to 22nd. And now we have pretty much of a zone of flow, sort of, but we still have a trough here and a trough here, with a ridge in between here across the Rockies and parts of the plains. So for this forecast period, calling for above normal temperatures, much of this region here, and I'm calling for anomalies to be near 8 degrees above normal. And for precipitation, calling for below normal precipitation here. Probability of occurrence is 35%, and we have above normal precipitation here.